Hey YouTube, welcome back to another One Piece chapter review. It's Austin Diesebek, back with One Piece chapter 1018 out, and we're going to cover everything that's happened in this week's chapter. Now before we start, if you would please take a minute to leave a like or a comment to help out with the algorithm, and if you enjoy the content that I release, please subscribe to help out the channel. Chapter is titled Jinbe vs. Who's Who, and the cover page is page 1 and ulti, just illustrating their relationship as siblings and really just how close they are. In the last chapter, Otama used her power to convert all of the headliners and gifters that she controls over to the Alliance's side, and this really has affected the entire battle. I know Mr. Morge has really been pushing his theory of the raid failing, but it really just doesn't seem like it at this point. We have some updated numbers by CP0 as they played the narrator to the fight again. It's revealed that the Beast Pirates originally had about 30,000 troops, and that's dwindled to about 20,000, while the Alliance had 7,000 fighters, and with the headliners and gifters switching sides, that boosted the Alliance up 2,000 soldiers while also costing the Beast Pirates 2,000 extra casualties in the process. So really just a double whammy. The best possible scenario that could have happened pretty much happened. This puts the new updated numbers much closer than they had been originally. That's at 16,000 versus 9,000 on the side of the Alliance. Really a big gap. It's kind of incredible that they've turned it around this well. It's still not entirely even, but in reality, Luffy by himself could knock out thousands of lower tier fighters, so it's not as bad as it seems. The real problem stems from the top tier of the Beast Pirates and whether or not the Alliance can produce enough strong fighters to match Kaido, Big Mom, and everyone else somehow still come out on top. I believe the Alliance will win, but it's still not entirely clear how at this point. CP0 really have an interesting conversation to follow this up. They wrap up the numbers of the battle and actually state their legitimate reason for being in Wano. They're here to confirm the death of Who's Who, which is sort of surprising as they also say that the outcome of this battle doesn't matter to them. This seems a bit weird to me just because of the stipulations behind the actual fight. I mean, Kaido and Big Mom have an alliance and literally threaten to destroy the world if they win. And on the other side, if the Straw Hat Samurai Alliance win, then not only are 2 of the 5 emperors defeated, but Luffy, the 5th emperor, is definitely cemented as, I guess you want to say Yonko, but Yonko stands for 4 emperors, so he's really cemented as the 5th emperor, and we're really not sure what happens to the whole system of power in the world. There would now be 5 great pirates with extreme influence, and only the Marines and the SSG to handle all of that. It doesn't really seem like it stacks up right. I mean, you have Kaido alone amassing an army of 30,000 people before Big Mom even joined him. Add Big Mom in and they probably had 40,000-50,000 fighters by themselves. When you think about Marineford and the entirety of the Marines pretty much at one place at one time, they only had 50,000 fighters, and they certainly didn't have 2 Yonko to fight against at that time. So it's kind of a little bit, I guess, intriguing to me that they don't really care. CP0 also throw Jinbe a little bit of clout. One of the members of CP0 mentioned that Who's Who may not make it through the night considering he's fighting against Jinbe. This is awesome as we finally get some recognition to the newest member of the Straw Hats and really shed some light on how the world government views someone like Jinbe. The chapter comes back to Jinbe and Who's Who, and they're still having really an incredibly detailed fight, one of the better looking fights outside of the rooftop in One Piece in a while. Who's Who, still in his hybrid Zoan form, shows more of the Rokushiki techniques by displaying Moonwalk, which is the same power that Sanji can use and learn to use over the time skip. Gives him ability to basically fly by kicking the air. Who's Who starts spamming out his powerful Fang pistol attacks left and right, and this is mainly to the detriment of his own side. Jinbe doesn't seem to really get hit by any of these attacks. Who's Who is basically just flat out racist towards Jinbe by saying he can't believe a slimy fishman can be fast on land. Jinbe says that you can't openly discriminate against fishmen, and it's not really accepted anymore, which is very true. In the world of One Piece, things have really changed, especially when you're around a bunch of people like the Straw Hats and even fishmen, and just the whole climate of the world of One Piece kind of seems like people are starting to get out of that bias. Who's Who uses a named attack, Fang Cavalry Flash, to attack Jinbe with his teeth, and Jinbe catches it and counters him with the Fishman Karate Shoulder and continues to pepper Who's Who with Water Bullet, the same attack that Hody Jones used against Luffy in the Fishman Island arc. In that same altercation with Hody Jones and Luffy, Jinbe actually uses the same attack to counter Hody Jones as well. The fight finished up with Husu throwing finger pistols and a Gatling style of attack at Jinbe to finish him off. Jinbe uses full body armament haki to protect himself, and this actually seemingly works for once. If you guys remember, Virgo and Pika both are the only two people we've seen use full body armament outside of Jinbe, and for both of them they actually got destroyed in their fights. But in this case, it seems that it's working out good for Jinbe. It looks like Husu broke both of his pointer fingers due to this, so Jinbe has really good armament haki. Jinbe finishes this fight using a new named attack that we haven't seen before. He steps on Husu's tail so he can't run away and hits him wide open with a gargoyle tile fist, which is an ultimate fishman karate technique. This seems to have ended the fight for now, but as you know, zones have a really high endurance. It's probably not over entirely, but I guess we'll see next chapter. During the end of the fight, we do have some intense but interesting dialogue between them to go over, and Husu states that his main grudge is against Shanks, as he's the one who stole the Gomu Gomu no Mi in the first place. This is referring to the ship that Husu was protecting that carried the rubber fruit that Luffy ate, and Shanks had apparently raided this 12 years ago, which is the exact same fruit that was in the first chapter of One Piece, or the first couple chapters in that time period. Seeing as Husu couldn't take down Shanks anytime soon, and Luffy is the one with the straw hat and the power of the rubber fruit, currently he's also after Luffy. Granted, Husu would have no idea that Luffy is already leagues above his level. Pretty much at this moment, Luffy's going to fight Kaido, and Husu is nowhere even close to them, so he would get destroyed in a fight against Luffy. Another thing that Husu said was that people in prison and even slaves believed that there was an ancient warrior called the Sun God who would show up to free them from their captivity, and asked Jinbe if he knew anything about this. Jinbe just asked him what this has to do with me. Husu replies that Jinbe was the captain of the Sun Pirates that had freed slaves on board, and figured he might know more about this Sun God. This seems like a stretch on the part of Husu, but it's really just Oda trying to tie different stories and points together here. It's kind of a strange and weird jump or leap in a theory. I guess it's just how it is. The Sun God could have been an actual person, but we know for a fact that Fisher Tiger literally did this in a flashback that we read in the main story. This could mean that Fisher Tiger turned into a legend that slaves and prisoners could pass on, or this could be a reoccurring thing that happens after so many years. Maybe there are many instances of great warriors freeing slaves from celestial dragons over the last 700 to 800 years. Sort of like Joy Boy could be a reoccurring type of person that appears every so often. Roger and Luffy could both be examples of that. That's not to say that they absolutely have to follow everything that Joy Boy or this Sun God did, but they inherit the will of this person or potentially people. This pretty much wraps up this week's review of One Piece chapter 1018. I'll have more content coming out very soon. Thanks for watching.